Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. I am joined, as always, by my good friend and colleague and co-host of many years, way over there. He is in sunny New York City. His name is Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
Is it sunny? I'm all right. It's been on and off. Life has been all right. Had a lovely walk to brunch on Sunday with our pal Bill Barnwell and our pal who I don't think has been on the show, Seth Rosenthal. So that's nice to get outside. Some football people, sports people. But otherwise, on and off, I am running again, Ty. Are you running? Are you taking advantage when it's sunny?
I haven't yet. No. But I will. I absolutely will.
It's been a while since I've been able to run because of my foot, my dumb foot injury. But I'm back out, hitting the pavement, and I'm going to tell you something right now completely unrelated.
Please.
Well, sort of related, because I always like to tinker with what I listen to. Sometimes I'll start with music and I'll just ease into a podcast to just sort of keep the pace.
Yeah.
But lately, I've just been doing sprints, sort of more circuit stuff. Okay. So it doesn't really matter to zone out or not to zone out to music or podcasts. So I haven't really cared as much. But underrated song, not to get you hyped, because I don't like being hyped while running, but to just sort of get energy up before you do something like a podcast. I just listened to NSYNC's It's Gonna Be Me 4 times before hitting record tonight. And it is a wonderful jam. It is a wonderful jam. And the Backstreet Boys did nothing to even come close to It's Gonna Be Me.
It's Gonna Be Me. It's Gonna Be
How about
my.
that?
It's Gonna be my.
It's gonna be May.
However he says that.
Yeah, it's gonna be May.
Well, it is getting nice out. The calendar has turned to April, and with April comes a lot of spring football chatter, which I'm sure we'll get into in due time. But one of the things we've been trying to do now in the offseason, because we really, truly do get an unclimbable Everest, as you once referred to it, of questions that we read and can't answer all the time. So we've been trying to do more regular Q&A type shows, and we've got one in front of us this evening. We put out a call earlier today to get questions, and the Everest got a little bit taller. I don't know if I've ever seen so many questions come in such a short period of time. So we've got football, we've got non-football.
A lot of life tonight.
A lot of life. Yeah, we're just going to try and run the gamut here.
Yes.
And see if we can't help our verballers out, Dan.
Absolutely. Is there anything news-wise that you want to get into? Anything with the NFL draft that has been standing out to you? We had Brian Kelly call out DeShone Kizer as not being particularly ready. No. I think he said it in a concern, not criticism kind of way. I know, we shouldn't talk about Notre Dame unless we absolutely have to at this point, but
it's a fair rule,
in general, because this is something we saw with Pete Carroll and Mark Sanchez. We saw it with Jim Mora and I believe Brett Hundley to different degrees. Brett Hundley and I want to say Miles Jack last year, that they sort of should have come back for different reasons. Do you think a college coach should be backing his prospect 100%, or do you think that there is a bit of integrity involved in being as forthright as possible, so when you do say this guy is amazing, it holds more weight?
I think they should be honest. I'm not sure if they should do it out. I'm not sure if they should do it publicly.
It seems strange, especially when recruiting, evaluating quarterbacks is already so difficult, and to send a message and to have, Notre Dame competes against everybody because they recruit nationally. And so you could have a coach at Stanford, you could have a coach at Texas, you could have a coach at Alabama, you could have a coach at Florida State, wherever. They can all say, Brian Kelly's not going to have your back.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rough. Now, I still think Brian Kelly should be able to recruit quarterbacks. He's had some success with them, but yeah, not the best of looks, but I understand sometimes why the honesty is necessary.
Well,
do you think DeShone Kizer, do you think that was a fair statement?
Absolutely a fair statement. I'm also not going to say he made the wrong decision going, because it looks like he'll probably be a borderline first rounder. He's going to go fairly high in the draft. He's not at all at risk of going undrafted. He'll find a team next year.
Correct.
The other thing that I should point out about Brian Kelly, it's a more interesting high wire act for him, because there have been plenty of rumors about Brian Kelly potentially jumping to the NFL at some point.
Right. No, this is true. And maybe he is looking at this as his last year at Notre Dame. And so he's trying to seem so honest and forthright about quarterback evaluations to seem like an NFL coach in waiting. Who knows?
We are going way down the rabbit hole here. Is there anything else in the news department?
I don't believe that, if I'm reading this correctly, I don't believe MAC teams will be playing on Saturdays in November. Did you see this?
I saw. What's that about?
Basically, they're going all out to get as much attention as possible. And while it's true that a lot of people, especially on social media, turn to MACtion as a sort of fix midweek, I know the ACC likes playing on Thursday nights, and that certainly gets that conference attention. But it hurts me a little bit. It hurts me a little that there is a conference that year after year generates interesting players, interesting games, sometimes without defense, which is fine. Everybody needs an identity. But the fact that TV is instructing college football to this degree and affecting it, I think we've sort of accepted, but it still hurts to sort of see it reflected on the schedule to this degree. Saturdays are for football. Saturdays are for you're off work. You get to go to, even though it's probably cold in the Midwest in November, there's something about tailgating in the morning and, there's the communal thing that's sort of lost, I think, on Thursday night games.
So Jason Kirk, in the oft mentioned Read Option newsletter that goes out every day, talks about college football. If you're not subscribing, you should. He does a great job. He has college football game day power rankings. Yes. Saturday being number one, obviously. Mm-hmm. He then goes Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday.
Right.
Do you agree with that? Does that feel right to you? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. The early week games to me really throw me off schedule. So I would probably put those way at the bottom.
I think I agree with his rankings. Maybe exactly. The defensive Tuesday games is this. It's generally, if you're into the NFL, you have Sunday, Monday, and now Thursday, and it's nice to get some time off if you're an NFL fan and whatever. But there's no football on Sundays college-wise. There's no football on Mondays college-wise other than week one. And Tuesday sort of doesn't happen until later in the season, right? Doesn't happen until November.
Okay.
So that sort of feels like you're at a restaurant and your server takes a particular liking to you and slips you some extra biscuits. Or it's like, oh, wow, I didn't order it, but here they are. And there's just the bonus quality of Tuesday football that, I mean, TV, at least network TV, is sort of worse. I bet there's so much to choose from now with Netflix and whatever. And sometimes you just want to, instead of watching those shows that you have to focus on to a huge degree, you just kind of want to like sit on your couch with your laptop, maybe browse stuff with having football in the background as sort of a screensaver. I think that's the beauty of Tuesday night football. You don't have to pay attention to it.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I might put
bonus biscuits is what
number
I'm saying.
7. You're not wrong, but I'm just saying I'm not a fan.
Okay.
Anything else that caught your eye, Dan?
No, not really. I think we can just get into the action. We'll talk about NFL draft stuff as that sneaks up a little bit closer.
When is the NFL draft?
I believe, as we're recording this on Wednesday, April 5th, it will be 3 weeks from tomorrow will be the first round.
All right. Well, we got to figure out a show then in short order. We'll get an NFL show together.
Ugh, don't phrase it like that. We will get a recently departed college football player show going.
Thank you. We'll get a college prospects moving to the NFL show.
Thank you.
Relatively soon. So stay tuned. All right. Your questions.
Yes.
Congratulations, Skippy. You've got mail.
You've got mail on the Solid Verbal.
Dan, we've been doing it once a month, but as often as we can, we do our best to pay homage to those of you who write into Twitter, Facebook, FanCred, Instagram, Snapchat, email, Messenger, Pigeon, you name it.
Have we ever received an Instagram DM question, like somebody sliding into our DMs?
I thought you were going to say something else. No, we've not gotten any questions nor anything else via Instagram DM.
Did we get a picture of a Johnson, somebody's junk texted to us at our old Google phone address?
We absolutely did. Yeah, we absolutely did.
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
We did.
But yeah, send us as often as you'd like. We do get to as many as we possibly can. But
and we do read all the email. We read every
email, even if we don't respond. That's because we're bad people. We will try to be better.
I love when people write in like, oh, you probably won't read this. Actually, no.
I live for them. I honestly, if you ever just want to get something off your chest, if you ever want to just say like, Ty, I love what you do, send us a note, solidverbal@gmail.com. Just
got to vent if you need a friend. All right. We've got a long laundry list here of items that people have sought to discuss with us or sought to have us discuss amongst ourselves. Dan, where do you want to start?
Let's skip around, but we're going to go some football, some life, some other topics, whatever. Let's start with Josh at the top of this list. It was pretty recent, but he asks if the Gators, or Joshua is how he's listed, if the Gators go 10-4 every year, but get demolished by Florida State, whoever the SEC West champ is, and their bowl opponent, will they ever fire Mac? I feel like they have a Mark Richt situation brewing in Gainesville. By that, I assume he means a perennial good team, but not great team, which a number of programs would take.
Not getting over the hump syndrome.
Correct. Not getting past, that Outback Bowl ceiling or that lower tier former BCS New Year's Day that is not watched by many people. I will say, I think it's harder and harder, given how national the sport has become, to just sort of have a beloved coach. Mark Richt was in Athens forever and became beloved. And even when he was let go, it seemed like people really liked him even as he left, which is very rarely the case. And I think Mac is fairly likable. I don't know if people have been huge fans of his recruiting and quarterback play early on. It's not entirely his fault. But I think with the expectations at Florida being a recent multiple-time national champion, the hump will need to be cleared within the next 2 or 3 years, or he will be gone. I just think that's the level.
They've also got some recent tradition of performing in the postseason with Urban Meyer.
True. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So I feel
the bar
like
is high.
I feel like that makes it a little bit more difficult for a guy like a Jim McElwain. It's a long, painful death in most cases when you've got this inability to get over the hump. And not to say that things went totally off the rails, although Mark Richt did lose control. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Always.
It's sort of a long, painful process when you see this happening.
Right.
What I am most curious about is if he can find a quarterback, because he came in on this assumption that he would instantly breathe new life into the Florida offense, and he has not done that yet. He's now had some time to get his guys in there, and he's going to have an opportunity now to start anew with a young quarterback. So we'll see if he's able to move things a little bit more forward. It helps that he's got the defense. The defense is going to keep him in a lot of games. I don't see that changing anytime soon because defensive talent at Florida has pretty much been a mainstay the last, 5 to 8 years. It's just always been pretty rock solid. If they
should be, given the talent in that state.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If they can get an offense in place, I think the risk of not getting over the hump syndrome will be drastically reduced. But to your point, there is definitely not as much allegiance to a guy like a McElwain as I think there was to a guy like a Mark Richt.
I think that's fair. And Urban Meyer, gave himself such a long road by winning like he did early on in his career. And granted, I don't think a number of those players were recruited by Meyer and his staff, but at the same time, it's weird to say it, but 2017 is different from like 2008.
Oh yeah.
It feels like such a different world, college football and outside. So I think it'll be tough. Next question is from our friend Brian, longtime UCLA fan, and he wants to know about Ty. What school do you think he wants to know about? UCLA. Is Jim Mora's seat actually hot or just the warmest in the Pac-12? Seems Rich Rod is getting there, but expectations aren't as high in Arizona.
I think it's hot, don't you?
I think it's warming up. Like, I don't think it's at he's on fire. I think it's on he's heating up. I think it's in that place because you go 3-9 in a place with a good amount of talent and have a team that not only wins the Rose Bowl, but now everybody's saying, the presumptive 2018 number 1 overall pick is the USC quarterback, whereas it was a few months ago, the UCLA quarterback, and you play in a big stadium and you have a basketball team that is going deep into the tournament and it is high profile as UCLA basketball is, that there is this sort of tradition at UCLA or expectation at UCLA to perform on a Rose Bowl challenging stage. And I guess it also depends on who can you get. Like if they can get Chip Kelly or something like that, if Chip Kelly's doing TV and he's in LA anyway and sort of likes it out west, as we know, maybe. But at the same time, is the UCLA job as attractive as it may look from where we sit 3,000 miles away? That like, oh, it's a beautiful school, a great athletic program, but you're also number 2 in your city. And it's a decidedly basketball school in a stadium that you don't fill up because it's obviously enormous. That's far away from campus. There's some challenges. So I think it's a matter of who does UCLA think they can get. I think that will determine the temperature of his seat.
I think it's actually hot. I agree with you that it's not scalding hot. You mentioned USC. There's obviously always going to be this need to keep up with the Joneses across town in USC. And USC is about to load up. They've got Sam Darnold coming back, a ton of talent on both sides of the football. USC's coming off that Rose Bowl win, as you mentioned. They're going to be pretty solid in 2017, no doubt about it. Not only that, but you've also got a ton of coaching talent in the Pac-12 North. The playoff team from the Pac-12 came from the Pac-12 North in Washington.
There is yet to be a Pac-12 South Conference champion.
Absolutely. So the Pac-12 North has loaded up on coaching talent. I feel like the Pac-12 is probably in the conversation for the best conference in college football in 2017. The profile has definitely been raised a bit given what Washington did. And with Josh Rosen now coming back from injury, there is an expectation that he will take the next step in his development. Only played half a season last year, but if he comes back healthy and doesn't deliver the goods, if UCLA just sort of sputters around the 500 mark, 7-5, even 8-4, I think there will be a real push to go a different direction at UCLA. So I think you're right.
Fair. Next question comes to us from, I believe his name is Quinn the Day. So he's an Ole Miss fan because they're also Win the Day. He wants to know, I lost my Google Doc, who we think will be the leading rusher in the Pac-12. So we'll stay on that topic.
I think it's either Myles Gaskin or Royce Freeman, right?
I think it's probably coming out of the North. It could be Bryce Love. We know that Stanford offensive line has paved the way for some large chunks these past few years. I would feel better about USC considering how talented Ronald Jones is, but they're replacing a good chunk of their offensive line. Also, not to say that the new guys won't be as good, but it's a little bit worrisome. I think they're going to want to show off Sam Darnold and his ability, and will be throwing the ball pretty often. So I'm going to take the homer pick and go Royce Freeman, because even though that is a deep core of running backs still, they return a number of big offensive linemen, and I think 5 starting offensive linemen if you include Tyrell Crosby, who was out for most of last year. So I'm going to go with that retooled offense and Royce Freeman succeeding as a senior.
I will, just for the hell of it, go Myles Gaskin.
That's a great pick.
To take an opposing side. But Royce Freeman is a very compelling pick. He's a bigger running back. He's got top-end speed. I think I saw over the span of his career, he's averaged something like 6 yards per carry. He is very much a big game kind of running back. But Myles Gaskin also plays in a very friendly system if you are a running back. He's got a good quarterback, and we know that Chris Peterson's building something. He had a great year last year, so I'll go with him.
Here's the problem with the Myles Gaskin thing, even though he's as talented as a lot of these guys most of the time. He's sharing carries with Levon Coleman, who a lot of Washington fans would argue is the better running back in that backfield.
That's true. Yeah, but I mean, I'm only going Gaskin because you picked Freeman.
That's fair. I understand the hate. Stay petty.
Yes.
Let's go. Oh, this is interesting because we were talking about the draft. Next year's draft. Ooh. Who are the big names that are standing out to you defensively for next year's draft? Who'll be the first defensive player off the board? He submits Arden Key, the very good defensive end for LSU, Deron Payne, Alabama, Deshaun Hand, Alabama, Minka Fitzpatrick, Alabama. I think there's a good little trend going on with his picks, but the defensive linemen for Ohio State are really good. Sam Hubbard and Tyquan Lewis, I believe, will be. I mean, Tyquan Lewis is a senior, so he will be very good. We'll see how Derwin James heals.
I was going to say, what about big bad
That's
Derwin
your pick?
James? Yeah.
Somebody that versatile, I think, is a real nice pick.
Kind of a little off the radar because he was hurt. He had the knee injury. And perhaps that's why he's not one of the suggested names in this conversation. But Arden Key was unstoppable at LSU.
So good.
He's versatile. He can play in almost any system. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think, is a good, reliable defensive back. He will clearly find work at the next level. I mentioned Derwin James. My boy Malik Jefferson. He's going to be in the mix.
Moving to the outside. Yeah, in Todd Orlando's system. I'm going to give you a wild card name.
Yeah.
The defensive end from Kansas, I believe, led the Big 12, which is not a huge accomplishment defensively in any category. I apologize. His name it's Durance Armstrong, I want to say.
Yeah.
But he's started receiving attention because David Beatty was the guy who recruited Myles Garrett to Texas A&M and has said he sees a lot of the same qualities. But he had like 20 tackles for a loss last year and has become, I mean, he's not huge. I think he's only about 250, 260, but has become pretty unblockable. And I think we'll start shooting up draft boards. Whenever you have that dominant player on the not great team,
right,
that pops eyes.
It helps, yeah. Okay, where are we going?
Next, which which Power 5 school with new head coach has the best chance of going to their conference championship tie?
Wow. Okay.
So in the Pac-12, it's just, I believe, Willie Taggart in Oregon. Oh, and Justin Wilcox in Cal.
Not a bad chance for Willie Taggart. I'm writing down Oregon. Okay.
Mm-hmm. In the Big 12, there is no conference. Is there a conference championship this year? Or is it not till next year?
No, it's this year.
There is.
Yeah.
New coaches in the Big 12. Tom Herman.
Interesting.
I believe that's, Matt Rule.
No, that's not going to happen.
Believe that's not going to be the pick.
No. So Oregon and Texas right now.
ACC wise, who's new in the ACC, Ty? I don't see any that are new in the ACC, so it's not going to be anybody in the ACC. We did Big 12. Big 10, you have Tom Allen at Indiana.
No.
I don't see that happening early. Would love if it did.
PJ Fleck at Minnesota. I don't see it.
I don't see it, Ty, but that is the Big 10 West. Wisconsin has a lot of changes. Lost their defensive coordinator, Justin Wilcox. Iowa, sort of a new look offense this year with CJ Beathard gone. Nebraska, I've heard from a few different people that if there is a team that goes from 8-9 wins to like 5-6, it might be Nebraska.
Okay.
That's the scuttle, as our friend, what's his name, Ted Miller in the Pac-12 likes to say, the scuttle. And Jeff Brom at Purdue, I think
it's a little early for that, but he will.
But the
build
PJ Fleck thing is interesting to me. That's a 9-4 team. I just in terms of comparing against the other options.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I would say if I'm picking between Oregon and Texas, Texas is probably a safer play because the Pac-12 North is going to be absolutely loaded.
True.
So by default, we'll go Texas there.
Okay. Fair enough. Next question. Let's go to, we're starting with all the football ones. Actually, let's stay on that subject. Mentioned Justin Wilcox. Thoughts on the new coaching staff at Cal? So obviously this all happened sort of after the initial hiring binge.
Yeah.
Because Cal did not let go of Sonny Dykes until later on in the process. Justin Wilcox has hired a couple of former Oregon/Chip Kelly coaches. Steve Greatwood on the offensive line, Jerry Azanaro on the D-line. So he'd be interested in our thoughts. Do you feel confident in Cal improving to beyond just consistently bowl eligible in being a reason why the Pac-12 is deep?
No.
Like sort of a Colorado of the future.
No, I don't.
I really like the offensive coordinator hire, Bo Baldwin, the head coach from Eastern Washington. So Justin Wilcox has been a good defensive mind recently.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I like that they've moved away from like the air raid that Sonny Dykes had. I feel like it's going to take some time for Wilcox. If he is the guy to build Cal up into that program, it's going to take him a while to recruit personnel, to get his system in place, and to get that wheel turning. So if it does happen, it's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of work to do at Cal, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
They've got some offensive talent. They're okay. But defensively, that's an area where I think he can bring a lot to the table. For me, it's a question of how quickly can he implement his defensive schemes to maybe turn that ship around a little bit. So it's tough for me to view Cal as like any kind of alpha dog who's going to steal or poach top recruits from so many of the other schools out in California or in the Pac-12 North. because there's just so much ammo out there now. What with Oregon and Stanford, down south with UCLA and USC, there are so many other options if you're looking in that part of the world to go and play your football that it feels like it's going to take Cal a little bit longer to build up its reputation enough to attract that top echelon of talent.
Here's one of the weird things, and our pals at Shutdown Fullcast discussed this a few weeks ago. Cal has put a crap ton of players into the NFL. Now, what's his name? Justin Wilcox cannot claim any of them, obviously, but there is something about Cal and the talent they do attract that has, for whatever reason, played well into getting drafted and getting onto NFL teams. Right now, you have Tyson Alualu, Keenan Allen, CJ Anderson,
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is not bad at football. Jared Goff was the #1 overall pick, even if he's not good. That is a very public thing. Alex Mack, Mitchell Schwartz, all these guys are really good at making a ton of money and products of Cal. So I think you can succeed through Cal. You can get attention through Cal. And there's talent in the East Bay. There's talent in Central California. You do have the academic standards, which make it a little bit more difficult, but Stanford's able to do it. Cal campus is beautiful if you like living in a city. Berkeley is weird and cool. It's a tough pull. It is a tough pull if you're in the North and you have offers from powers in the Pac-12 North. You have offers from Washington, Stanford, and Oregon. Cal's a tough sell. Now, these coaches are very good, and I think they can get a lot out of like high-level 3-star guys, but they are going to need to build a ton of depth, and they're going to need to hit on so many of those high 3-star guys if they're going to start challenging for 8 or 9 wins a year.
It's gonna take a couple years of getting blood from a stone before they can build up reputation enough to maybe win some of those recruiting battles. You'll win a couple here and there, but
would I rather coach Cal or would I rather coach like Minnesota, Purdue?
No, the answer is Cal.
I'd rather coach Cal than Kansas State, even though Kansas State's in that 8-9 category right now. It's just so much trickier. I'd rather coach Cal than Boston College. I'd rather coach Cal than maybe even like NC State. I think they're in a similar position except for maybe the academics. It's tough. But I like Cal's very lean advantages over a number of schools in similar places.
I don't think it's a bad job at all. I think it's a very attractive job.
Yeah. Timing's not great, though.
Timing's not great, and it does come with a unique set of challenges of obviously being in a very deep conference and having some, academic stuff as well that needs to be considered. So, yeah, I like the job. I think it's going to take him some time. I am not confident in him being that guy to take them to the next level, but I think there is potential there.
All right, final football question then. If you want less football, if you want more football, whatever, you can go elsewhere, and that's cool. If you want some life stuff, we're going to do that. Final question from Joe. If South Florida's offense is similar to last year and considering their strength of schedule, which, by the way, choice.
Yeah.
All things point to the Bulls being favored in possibly all 12 games next year outside of maybe Bama. What other teams can you say that about?
So look,
I am not going to go through everybody's schedule.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
There's only one member of the broadcasting duo who surveyed the landscape of college football last year, pointed to one team way out on the West Coast, particularly in the Pac-12 North, and said that team way over there, Ty, I don't see a loss in that schedule.
I don't see a loss on that schedule.
Only one member, I'm holding up one finger, only one member of the broadcasting duo had the audacity to go there very early on, and it was you. So if anyone's going to answer this question, it's certainly not me and my TCU playoff picks. I believe it would be you. So give us your prediction. Is there anyone else other than USF that might fall into this category?
So I'm going to do you have the hype train sound ready for me?
More of a hype machine than a train.
Hype machine.
I'll get on that this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very industrial. USC right now. USC's road schedule is as follows. They're at Cal, they're at Washington State, they're at Notre Dame, they're at Arizona State, they're at Colorado. As it appears right now, USC is in a better position than all of those teams. Is that not unfair?
Fair, very fair, yeah.
And they have Stanford and Texas at home in consecutive weeks early on in the season, but it's at USC, it's in the Coliseum. And I believe they, in looking at their schedule, they don't play Washington and they don't play Oregon. So those were the two places that if they were on the road, obviously they wouldn't be on the road against Washington this year after going up to Seattle last year, that you could see, okay, they'll be like 1.5 dogs. But as of right now, I mean, the best possibility would be Notre Dame's completely retool offense and defense looking really good. And then Notre Dame will probably be, 6-1, 7-0 at that point, and they would be dogs going to South Bend. But other than that, Ty, USC should be favored in all their games.
I like that. And it's bold, too, to go right into the teeth of what is certain to be a pretty formidable hype machine, if you will, as we enter 2017. USC's always in that discussion to begin with.
Right.
This year might be second to none, given the fact that Sam Darnold is coming back and they had a really strong finish to their 2016 season.
But actually, you know what? I will say Washington at this point, too.
Yeah,
they're at Stanford late in the year. I'm not saying they're going to be favored. I'm not saying they're going undefeated, but non-conference is Rutgers, Montana, Fresno State. Road schedule: Colorado, Oregon State, Arizona State, until they get to that Stanford game in the middle of November. They have Oregon at home. They have UCLA at home. That's a pretty sweet schedule, Ty.
I don't think anyone's as clear cut as USF. They're obviously not playing in the Pac-12, but there are some picks out there on the West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Ty, you have lots of thoughts about this, even though you're not the most well-traveled person in the world.
How dare you?
Which is the best regional fried chicken chain? Raising Cane's, Zaxby's, Bojangles, or I guess other. Chick-fil-A is, I guess Chick-fil-A is not regional anymore, and Popeyes is national. So of those three,
I've not had any of these.
Oh, okay. I have not had Zaxby's. Everybody that I've spoken to personally says Zaxby's is pretty good. It's fine.
Okay.
It's like an 8-4 team. Year over year, an 8-4 team. And that's fine. I think this depends on what you go for fried chicken wise. So like Raising Cane's is a tender place through and through. If you love tenders, if you like sauces, the answer is probably Raising Cane's. Bojangles, I like that they have Cajun fries. I like their tenders as well, but I think their fried chicken is better. So I'm going Bojangles here. Bojangles is largely in the southeast. There is one in DC's train station. I think I'm going Bojangles.
I'm going to have to take your word for it. I have no idea. The only monkey wrench I was going to throw in here was that, I've only ever been to Chick-fil-A as it relates to chicken places. So I don't know. I'd be curious.
Have you never been to Popeyes?
I've not been to a Popeyes either.
What?
Swear to God. There are no Popeyes around here. The only Popeyes around here in Eastern PA closed down.
That's as much of an indictment on your region of the country as I've ever heard.
I know. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying. I do not have easy access to a Popeyes.
I like the Cajun fries of Bojangles. I like the more the bigger spread of chicken options at Bojangles than Cane's, but I love Cane's too. Do not get me wrong. I will happily go to Cane's for a giant bag or box of whatever of Tendos. So.
A giant bag, okay.
Giant bag. Jason wants to know, is there ever an acceptable public place to wear Birkenstocks? I say that's a hard no, but my friends disagree. Thoughts? Do you know what Birkenstocks are?
Are those the sandals?
They are like the Jesus-y sandals. They're often leather buckle, like two buckles.
Yeah.
Slip in, slip out kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're not the coolest looking thing, Ty, but what do you think?
I don't think I have a strong opinion on Birkenstocks. We've made the case on this program time and time again that, as it relates to socks, right? You want to make sure that your feet are comfortable.
Right.
So if you achieve the proper level.
This is Birkenstocks, not Birkensocks.
No, but what I'm saying is, as it relates to feet, Dan, comfort is everything.
You're only as comfortable as your feet. Yep.
Yeah, if the Birkenstocks give you the level of comfort that you require, and you don't care about being fashion forward, different strokes for different folks, man. I'm okay with that. I don't personally own them. I don't know if I ever will. I just don't have a hot take on it.
Here is my official take. My take is Ty is correct. And I would add this. In the last year, when my foot has started giving me a lot of pain, I'm way more open to foot comfort and whatever that looks like than I was before. But with Birkenstocks specifically, if you're on the fence, maybe wait until you're in a very serious relationship before you wear them a bunch. Or you're married or you're in some sort of committed situation, and that won't play a role in somebody determining, he's just too much of a dork. That's my official stance.
I will say this on a different note, but quasi-related, while we're talking about foot comfort. I'm willing to submit, along with like Easy Pass and wireless internet and smartphones, among the truly great trends and inventions of our generation. This whole thing now where people are comfortable wearing sneakers to just about any occasion, that to me is in the equation right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and there have been nicer sneakers made, like the formal sneaker thing.
Whatever Marty Smith wears all the time when you see him conducting interviews out at the national championship.
I interviewed Florida's basketball coach, Mike White, at MSG, at Madison Square Garden during the tournament. He was rocking the same thing. He's a younger guy, looked great, looked totally good.
That movement for me, I'm not saying in all occasions I'm for it.
I will not be doing it at my wedding.
Right, and there are people who have done it at their wedding, and I don't begrudge them. If you're able to get away with it in comfort and everyone's cool with it, then you be you. But I'm just saying, as a whole, this trend towards wearing sneakers where we wouldn't traditionally wear sneakers, I am very okay with that. Very okay with that.
Jeremy wants to know, what are your feelings on bringing a flask to a wedding? Is it okay if I bring one, if I assume they will have a bad selection? Do I go ahead and bring a whole bottle if that's the case? Is it okay if I bring a flask if the reception will be dry? So this was maybe the easiest question that we received, in my opinion.
You are not much of a drinker.
I'm not.
Okay, so I feel like I already know what your answer is going to be here.
I feel if it's a dry wedding and it's going to be particularly torturous and you'll become a very popular table, I can sort of get behind that. But, I mean, how much do you love drinking if just standard booze and beer and wine isn't good enough?
Well, that was going to be my point.
That's the problem. Yeah. Where just like, if I went to a wedding and it was hot outside and they were serving, whatever, they were serving barbecue or tacos or whatever it is that like would really pair well with a cold beer, but they only had like Bud Light or something, I'd have the Bud Light. And Bud Light's fine.
You're right. I was going to say, you're not going to put beer in a flask, are you?
No, you're not putting beer in a flask.
Okay,
so like,
thank you.
They only have like Jack Daniels and like great. I don't even know what nice vodka is, but if they only have like Jack Daniels or, like lower end stuff, that's fine. Just mix it with some ginger ale and get on the dance floor. Come on. We don't need the high end stuff constantly, do we, Ty?
Do you own a flask, by the way?
Absolutely not.
I was gifted a flask for being in someone's wedding. I don't know what kind of gift ideas you have for anyone involved.
I don't have groomsmen.
Well, I mean, you give gifts to parents sometimes. Maybe your new father-in-law would like a flask for his day job. Who knows?
Definitely not, but okay.
I'm sort of uncomfortable taking that with me to places. I know a lot of
maybe
people
like
do.
camping,
something like. But my whole thing is that if you've got a flask, the reason it exists at all is so you can take alcohol to a place where you're not supposed to be taking alcohol.
Right.
And I'm not much a rule breaker all the time, Dan. You know this about me.
What about like a dry, like torturous religious Thanksgiving or holiday? Like
you might have a case situation. For it there. You might have a case for it there.
That seems more defensible. I don't know. Just drink what's there.
All I'm saying is, if it's an open bar and you take a flask, you're kind of just being a dick.
That's true.
If it's a dry wedding, then it's kind of a different debate. You can do it, but just don't get bombed.
Right.
Don't make a fool out of yourself, because if it's dry, there's probably a very good reason why it's dry. So don't be that guy. That'll be my only advice.
Ty, when you're watching an overnight like Pac-12 after dark game and you're just like, I just got to go to sleep. I'm sorry. I will see what happens in the morning. And then you check the box score and it turns out Connor Halliday has thrown the ball 83 times.
He threw for 700. Yeah.
Yeah, he finished the game 50 of 83. That's what I feel like our pal Matt Morris did to our Facebook feed. He was a volume shooter this
Matt Morris
week.
Throwing a lot of pitches at us here, Dan.
Absolutely, and a lot of good questions, I will add. But I'll get to a couple of them. Will we have another emo episode? Don't know. Maybe, but we will 100% definitely welcome Bill Barnwell back for another themed non-college football episode.
I got to say,
how about that?
So I tried my best, and I got some comments about this, by the way. I tried my best to go toe-to-toe with you guys when it came to emo. Right. I know pretty much. I don't know nearly as much about the genre as you guys did. I held my own. I did okay. You guys were clearly the superstars of that podcast. I'm fine with that.
I'll accept that.
We talked about doing another themed show that all three of us know a lot about. And I'm very excited about that show.
So also Matt wants to know, and I'm juiced for that one. Dan seems to be eating healthier. What is his, quote, secret cheat food? So I normally eat pretty healthy, but I generally tend to eat healthier because I work out more as the sun comes out in New York, and I'm running a little bit more. And now I'm got to look sleek in a wedding suit coming up here, Ty.
Yeah.
I don't eat a ton of sugar. So I guess if I am, quote, cheating, it will be eating something sweet. And the other day at the office, Ty, do you like Girl Scout cookies?
Sure.
Do you have a favorite line?
I'm a fan of the Thin Mints.
Okay, you like the Thin Mints.
Yeah.
We have the tag-alongs here. And those are for me. I am here for tag-alongs. I am here on this earth for those peanut butter chocolate just beauties.
Not a huge peanut butter fan, but okay.
Oh my God, I love the tag-alongs. I ate 4 or 5 of them. I looked at the box. It was an open container of tag-alongs. Looked at the box and said, nope, not today, Girl Scouts.
Wow.
And immediately ate 4 or 5. I immediately just went for it. And here's my question to you, Ty. How long, and we talked about this in the office, if Thin Mints are a genuine weakness for you, yes?
I wouldn't say a weakness. I like them.
Do you have a sweet weakness? A sweetness?
Chocolate-covered almonds.
We have them in the office now.
Yeah,
Ty.
yeah. I can't control myself around chocolate-covered almonds. The two things that I am utterly unable to control myself around are the chocolate-covered almonds and the Wise Food white cheddar popcorn. But that's not really a sweet.
No, not a sweet. But let's say at your desk at work there was a bowl of just to the brim, Ty. Do you like dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Milk. Got to go milk. Yeah.
Milk chocolate almonds. Just a heaping bowl.
Yeah.
If you were given $1 an hour, which is not a lot of money, how long could you just stare at those almonds on your desk without eating one?
Wow. I could probably... That's a very weird question.
Yeah.
I have pretty good willpower. I could hold off for a while.
Could you do $5 worth?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Really?
I've been doing it for a month. I gave up chocolate-covered almonds this month.
But they're not on your desk.
They're not on my desk, no. But there is a steady supply of them at the mysterious day job, and I walk by them on the way to my desk every day.
I could get one crisp Washington out of this deal. I could not. If an open box of tag-alongs on my desk, it's my weakness, Ty.
All right.
I'm not doing so well. This is the question that is perhaps the most Ty question I could possibly imagine.
Okay, I'm excited.
Which current college football quarterback or quarterbacks do you guys put at the top of your, quote, most likely to end up on The Bachelor, end quote, big board for this year that comes to us from John Haggard, which is everything Ty dreams of in a question when he falls asleep at night?
Yes. Wow.
Who is it, Ty? So, okay, let's establish this. What makes for a good ex-player Bachelor? So we've had Jordan Rodgers.
We've had Jordan Rodgers, Jesse Palmer.
We've had the Aaron Murray connection, and he was an athlete, a baseball player.
Josh Murray.
Like that.
Yeah, Josh Murray was on.
Was Sean? Was that his name?
Sean, yeah. Sean.
He played football at Kansas State?
He played football at K-State, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It has to be somebody that maybe is good enough to play at the next level, but not in like a starting capacity. Jesse Palmer being the obvious there. It has to be somebody who I think has a personality that translates well to television, because first and foremost, they're trying to make a TV show with The Bachelor. It's not about love. Right. And I also think in today's era, because they're trying to drive ratings, it needs to be someone who has some sort of well-publicized girlfriend and or crush situation. Someone that people knew about because of a previous relationship. Or
did people know about Jordan Rodgers' previous relationships?
Where I'm going with this is I feel like Trevor Knight would have been the correct answer last year. And he, for example, is someone who was dating someone from Duck Dynasty or a daughter of someone from Duck Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that sort of helps to have that in the quiver.
Sure.
So for me, the obvious answer is Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, that's what Ryan said as well. I presented this.
Baker Mayfield has the personality.
Ryan,
he's too small, too unconventional to make it in the NFL. And he also, you'll remember, like 2 years ago, he was in the running for our factoid that may only interest Tom Hammond because he had a girlfriend who went to Oklahoma State.
True.
So right out of the chute, my 1A is probably Baker Mayfield.
Okay. So I did a little bit of research, Ty, not knowing what makes a good bachelor and just looking at what quarterbacks actually look like. And it seemed the look that they go for, it seems like you'd have to be below the Mason-Dixon line. So Oklahoma would count. It doesn't seem like a Minnesota quarterback or a Michigan State quarterback, as dreamy as Kirk Cousins' eyes were.
Deep as the sea.
Penn State quarterback. It just doesn't feel like they're drawing from that area. I looked at Ryan Finley at North Carolina State, and I said, he looks like he is bachelor material.
Okay.
Bryce Ramsey has the name and has the pedigree, Georgia, but didn't seem to have the bachelor look to me. Lamar Jackson looked very nice at that Heisman ceremony.
You can make a really good case for Josh Rosen, too.
Could make a great case for Josh Rosen. UCLA is very All-American.
Josh Rosen's an interesting case. If he doesn't turn things around, and there's no guarantee.
He should succeed, though.
I would think that he would, and I'm rooting for him, too. But if he doesn't, he's certainly got the personality. At that point, he probably wouldn't have a whole lot of longevity in the NFL. And we know that he's willing to be a little risque. Didn't he invite a fan back to his dorm?
That's true. An Arizona fan.
To go in a hot tub. So he'd clearly have no issues with going on national television in a well-publicized situation like that.
I'm going to throw another name at you, Shane Buechele.
Okay, go on.
Shane Buechele, we don't
intrigued.
know that he is... Don't know that he has an NFL future at this point. Open competition at Texas for the quarterback job. High profile at Texas. Dad, notable baseball player.
Yep.
Didn't he put out a couple videos in the offseason, like throwing to friends that were driving?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? On the lake stuff?
Yeah,
he was in boats or something like that. So there is that sort of not very public, but public persona. I think that's a sleeper right there.
All right.
Ty. This comes to us from Mike. And I did some research into this one as well, Ty. Similar note, is Randay Edsall sexy?
Wow.
Is Randay Edsall
many different
sexy?
Ways to go with that.
Yeah. So it could be asking, is Randay Edsall a sexy hire at UConn coming back?
Right.
Hires Rhett Lashley to run the offense. You know, he's the only real UConn football coach recently to have a good amount of success, got them to the Fiesta Bowl before taking his dream job. But I went at it from a more analytical approach. I don't know really what makes a 58-year-old man sexy.
Right.
I don't. But I did some research, Ty. These are the famous 58-year-olds we have before us, according to one website that was the first one I Googled.
We're not playing hot or not now. How are we doing this here?
Sexier than Randay Edsall. Do you want to bring up a picture of Randay Edsall?
I know what Randay Edsall looks like, but I'll pull it up.
You know what he looks like.
Yeah,
pull it up just so you have the visual reference.
Okay, Rand. Go ahead. I got him.
All right. Viggo Mortensen. Sexier than Randay Edsall, not sexier.
We'll go Viggo on that one.
Okay, you have to go. He was in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see. Where did there they go. Okay, next up. Sexier than Randay Edsall, not sexier than Randay Edsall. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No, Randy
I think
Edsall.
knowledge is sexy, Ty. I do.
I'm a big NDT fan, but no, I got to go Randy.
The Price is Right's Drew Carey.
Randy Edsall.
Bit of a womanizer.
Yeah.
Randy Edsall over Drew Carey. Mark Cuban.
Randy Edsall.
Gary Oldman. Commissioner Gordon from the Batman series.
Randy Edsall.
Randy Edsall. Okay. Kevin Bacon. Mr. Footloose.
Probably Kevin Bacon.
Probably.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon is way better looking than Randy Edsall.
Okay. This is a very weird conversation, but I like it.
Tim Burton.
Randy Edsall.
Oh, that's very clear, yes.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin. Current Alec Baldwin.
Gotta go
We're
Alec.
not talking Still Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin.
All right. And these are the deceased Prince, Michael Jackson, and Billy Mays. Obviously, all are sexier than Randay Edsall.
R.I.P.
Here is the only other big-name college football coach that is 58 years old, which is strange. You would think that there'd be more, given the
Seems
range
like a
between
popular
40
age,
and 60.
Yeah.
Right. But the only one I could find in my pretty extensive search through, Lovie Smith is 58 years old.
Wow.
Who is the sexier man in your eyes? Lovie Smith, Randay Edsall?
I think I'd go Lovie Smith.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right. But I'm glad we got to the bottom of this. And never accuse us of not taking your questions very seriously, Mike Reardon. Very seriously.
All right. Where are we going
next, we have, this is a quick one. Sushi or sashimi? Ty, do you have a preference?
I'm going to go sushi because I've never had sushimi.
Sashimi. Do you know what sashimi is?
No idea.
Sashimi is sushi, or it's sushi fish without the rice. So you're just having a piece of fish, a piece of raw fish.
No.
You dip a little bit of in soy sauce and some wasabi, but no rice.
No.
I'm going to go sushi myself because I think great sushi rice really makes the meal.
Can we get to the question about the animals, like the real life trained?
This comes to us from Chris. If all the animal named teams were their nicknames trained to play football, who would be the national champion?
This is one of my top 10 favorite questions of all time.
11 on 11.
Yeah.
Which mascot, or not specific mascot, but which nickname do you think has the best chance at winning the national championship?
So
and I think we're going to call it on land because football's played on land.
Well, I was going to say that's where we have to figure out what we're going to do, because I have to believe like the Southern Miss Golden Eagles would have a distinct air raid offense that the Penn State Nittany Lions could not contend with, right?
Right.
His thing here does not specify land creatures.
So I'm going to specify ground creatures on land.
Okay.
That's the line I'm going to draw. I think because of their ability to both stand and run on all fours and hold a football, I think I'm going with Cal.
A golden
or
bear.
UCLA. UCLA, Bruin, I think, is a baby bear.
A Bruin's a baby bear.
Which is a more difficult task. They're more athletic and spry, perhaps, at a younger age.
They'd be undersized, Dan.
We have human mascots.
If you're talking about like a cougar or a puma in the wildcat category, then I think you've got a potential there. I'm inclined to say that Nittany Lions also kind of fall into that same category. Nittany Lions, a cougar.
Sure.
So I have seen what those creatures can do, and a puma can do something like jump 20 feet straight up in the air.
Right.
That level of agility and speed, and really just, I think, intelligence is something that translates to the football field.
I'm leaning bears still, just because of, I think they're more athletic than a lot of the other four-legged, armed, running and moving on all fours animals. I think they offer more versatility, more size, ferocity, but still agility. But if we're talking about, running some sort of just like single wing, really basic, and we sort of accept the fact that a ball can be attached to this animal in some way, I think the most unstoppable force would be 11 buffaloes.
Right.
That to me is, buffaloes can run it up. They can stampede it up to 35 miles an hour. So we're talking faster than football players at their top speed.
Right.
We're talking about, they're relatively light on their feet, sort of thinner legs, but still a ton of mass. And they lead with their head, which is problematic referee-wise. But I'm staying in the Pac-12, and I'm either going Bears or Buffaloes.
Do they call targeting in a game like that? I feel like they don't. I feel like they'd all be leading with their head.
That's true.
But you bring up a very interesting point with Buffaloes. It'd be like a team of Craig Hayward out there.
You're running the wedge.
Yeah.
I mean, you're running the return wedge offense.
And we've seen Ralphie run. Ralphie can run once he gets ahead of steam.
Yep.
The question is, could he get ahead of steam knowing that you've got something like a puma who could just jump over
Yeah,
the line?
The agility factor is what scares me.
Huh. This is interesting. Here's another one that I enjoyed, kind of along the same lines. This is from Dan. Which conference has your favorite nicknames? He votes for the Big Ten. He says because they have 12 unique names like Boilermakers and Nittany Lions, really only 2 generic ones, he says the SEC is the worst with 3 Tigers, 2 Bulldogs, and a Wildcat.
Right.
I put an inordinate amount of thought into this, Dan.
Okay.
I have settled on Conference USA.
Okay. Part of me was AAC, but continue.
Let me read off the names of the mascots.
Okay.
In Conference USA. I challenge you to come up with a better slate of names.
I'm ready.
The 49ers, the Panthers, Owls, Bulldogs, Thundering Herd, Blue Raiders, Mean Green, Monarchs, Owls, Golden Eagles, Miners, Roadrunners, and Hilltoppers.
It's very good. That is a strong list. I mean, he may have been referencing Power 5 conferences, but I don't care.
No.
Mountain West is decent. Pac-12 is fine. Nothing. I mean, the Cardinal is kind of cool. Buffalo's is obviously relatively unique. AAC, we've got Owls, Bulls, Knights, Bearcats. We've got East Carolina is the Pirates, which I think that's pretty dope. The Huskies is pretty normal. The Midshipmen.
Like the Midshipmen, yeah.
Like the Midshipmen. We got not just a hurricane tie, a golden hurricane in Tulsa. Not just a wave, but a green wave with that helmet, that sort of throwback helmet. You got the Mustangs, not just Broncos or anything like that, Mustangs. You've got your Cougars, and you've got your Tigers. I think that spans enough. I like the weather factor. I'm going with the AAC.
Another one here, he mentions the Big Ten, and he's not wrong. But one other one I'll throw in here. ACC, not bad. Okay. You got some common ones, Eagles, Tigers.
Sure.
Right? But Blue Devils, Seminoles, Yellow Jackets, Tar Heels, the Orange, Cavaliers, Hokies, and to round it out, the Demon Deacons. Not bad.
Yeah. Right.
Not bad. We got time for one or two more.
One or two more. These will be relatively quick. I'm going to save a couple of these for when we have Dr. Jane on because it got very personal, and I like that. Walker wants to know, he has to plan a bachelor party for the late summer, looking for a good spot in the continental United States. Vegas, not an actual option because it's going to be very hot in late summer, which also sort of takes away Austin, Nashville, Charleston, some popular spots.
Secret
New Orleans
garbage,
is going to be pretty gross late summer, but New Orleans is great. Can you guys give me a recommendation?
Chicago's interesting to me, Dan.
Chicago's, you can get, I mean, it gets humid, but summer can also, it's a great summer city.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can go to a Cubs game. You go to Wrigley.
Easy to get to.
I don't know where Walker is from. But Chicago's pretty central to everybody.
Yeah.
Go to Chicago for one night and, have a great meal, walk around, maybe do something on the lake. I would then go to either Michigan or Wisconsin and try to get a lake house there. The summers are pretty mild up there. You can grill. You can just do your own thing. You can be secluded, rent a lake house, sort of upper Midwest, Michigan and Wisconsin, totally beautiful over the summers. And I would say more affordable, especially if you have a bigger group, to do the beach house thing or the lake house thing. Go to the supermarket and get a bunch of burgers and dogs and beer and, maybe we can get a flask from our friends.
There you go.
You get a flask from Jeremy. But I would it's beautiful up there during the summer. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I would do the sort of chill lake house thing.
Every now and again, I have a decent idea. Doesn't happen often, but where are we going? Final question here.
Final question. This is going to say a lot about you as a human, as a man. It's about somebody living in 2017.
Yeah.
Taylor has a cold.
Oh.
He's sick in bed. What's your best cold remedy?
I am a big fan of the old adage, feed a cold, starve a fever.
They starve a flu?
I've heard starve a fever, but I suppose you could starve the flu as well. When I have a cold, if it is just a cold, I do my best to stuff my face. I eat as much as I can without making myself uncomfortable. Doesn't need to be...
What do you eat?
A giant cheesesteak can just be soup. Can be comfort food. Can be almost anything. When you got a cold, I think everything's fair game.
Sleep your ass off. Sleep like it's your job. Sleep like crazy. Just keep rebooting your body. Drink a ton of water. I generally, even though I love tea, I will avoid tea when I have a cold because tea actually lowers your body temperature.
Yeah.
So that's not, even though it's warm going down at that moment. It lowers your body temperature, which is why they say when you have a fever to drink tea, because it actually lowers it. Eat a ton of relatively, have a turkey sandwich on wheat bread. Something that's not going to upset your stomach all that much. Drink just a crap ton of water. I will drink like hot water with honey if I have a cold, just because it'll warm me up.
Follow-up question.
Sleep like it's your job.
Final question, follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
To what end do you believe in something like emergency?
I'll have it occasionally if I start to feel myself getting sick, but I don't believe in it in any sort of significant way. Just because the vitamin C is good for you thing was sort of a hoax from the 70s by like some just random doctor.
Yeah.
Vitamin C is fine for you, but it's not going to cure your sickness. So, putting vitamins into your body is fine. Generally, when you have them in unnatural forms like airborne or emergency, you're just going to pee it out pretty quickly.
I tend to agree with you.
I don't think it does much. Eat healthy and you're going to get all the vitamins you need.
There you go. Sage life advice here from Dan Rubenstein. Maybe a little bit from me too.
We got a bunch of questions involving like relationships and personal matters and wedding stuff. I'm going to do my best to book the always difficult to book Dr. Jane for a return appearance this spring. So we will get more questions. If you have any questions about life, relationships, inner working politics kind of stuff. I know, Ty, you've been dying to do a bathroom etiquette show. So this is not made up, correct?
I could probably go for about an hour on bathroom etiquette. Yeah.
But no, we're going to have a life talk with Dr. Jane. Maybe we'll bring Ryan in as well at some point. So we'll get to some of those questions then. I am pretty much all talked out now, Ty. No sponsor tonight?
No sponsor tonight.
Oh, man. So, eat whatever you want for dinner.
They must have heard the last show. No sponsor tonight.
It's true.
Sponsors will be back next week. All right. Subscribe at itunes.com/solidverbal. Don't forget, you can email us whenever your heart desires. As Dan mentioned, as I mentioned, we read them all. We love getting them. So hit us up, solidverbal@gmail.com. If not there, look to Twitter, look to Facebook. We're always kind of surveying the landscape, seeing what people have to say. So don't hesitate. Please do reach out, and we will be broadcasting all off-season here on the podcast feed.
Yep.
Our website, solidverbal.com. Send it to your friends. Share it on social. Do what you got to do to get the word out. We'll be here all off-season long, preparing for the long doldrums of the college football off-season and getting you all geared up for the 2017 season, like what, 5-6 months from now?
It's a while from now, Ty.
Yeah, okay. On that note, Dan, I know you are headed for parts unknown here shortly after the show. So safe travels.
Thank you very much.
Will I talk to you next week?
Yes, I'll be here. I'll be ready.
All right, very good. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand, thanks again for joining us on the show. We will catch you all next week. Stay solid.
Peace.